Okay, we've just taken a look at probably the most important rule of differentiation, which is the chain rule. However, there are a couple of other rules that we need to get our head around as well. First one of those is the product rule. The product rule of differentiation applies when you have one function multiplied, meaning the product of, another. And this is different to the chain rule. The chain rule is when you have a function inside of another function. So if this 3x squared was inside of the sine x, that would then require the chain rule. But if we just have two separate functions, u and v, that are multiplying by each other, then we need to apply the product rule. Now, the product rule is quite easy, actually. It's quite easy to get our head around. The product rule states that if we have two functions multiplied by each other and we want to find the derivative of the whole thing combined, we split it up into our two functions, u and v, or f of x and g of x, and we take the first function and we differentiate it. So we take u prime, and u prime here is 6x. And with that 6x, so I'll do that up here, but my answer's going to be down here. With that 6x, with the derivative of this one, I multiply it by just that, just the second function. So 6x times by sine x. Then I add on to that the opposite. The derivative of the second function, so the derivative of sine is cos. And just to keep everything nice and neat, that's v prime up there, which is cos of x. And I multiply the derivative of that one by this one here, the original of this one. So I end up with 6x sine x plus cos x times 3x squared. And this is my final answer. Maybe there's some simplifications I can do, maybe I want to factor something out, but for now, that is my answer. So the product rule in general, nice and simple. You take the derivative of the first one, multiply it by the second, and you add to that the derivative of the second one multiplied by the first. Okay, nice and simple. So I'll run through a couple of examples just to get the hang of it, but this will probably be a nice short video. Let's start with this example here. Quite complicated looking. I've got two functions, cos of 2x times by e to the 7x squared. So immediately I need to identify I've got one function, let's call this f of x, multiplied by another function, let's call that g of x. Now I want to start applying my product rule. Now I know in my product rule I'm going to have to differentiate them both separately, so I'm going to start off by doing that, just to make things a little bit easier for myself later. Rather than doing it live, I'm going to get it prepared. So f prime of x, well, hopefully we can just look at this point and realize that this is going to be minus 2 sine of 2x. But let's just work through the chain rule just to be nice and consistent. Do I have a green pen? Yes, I do. So let's have a look at this here. We've got a function, 2x, inside of another function, which is cos of something. So remembering the chain rule, if you don't remember the chain rule, check out the last episode on it. We're going to take the derivative of that interior there, which is 2. And I'm going to multiply it by the derivative of the entire thing. The derivative of cos of 2x is minus sine of 2x. So minus sine 2x. Now let's do the same for the second one. So g prime of x. Well, once again, let's just work through our chain rule. We have got a function, in this case 7x squared, within another function, which is e to the something. So to differentiate this, I'm going to end up with getting the derivative of 7x squared, which is 14x, and multiplying it by the standard derivative of e, which keeps everything the same. So I've got my two derivatives, and now I can apply my product rule. So I know that my product rule is I take the derivative of the first one, which is this, and I multiply it by my original second one. which is e to the 7x squared. And so that's, I add the derivative of the second one, which I've got here, multiplied by just the original one, cos of 2x. And this is why I said, first things first, it's always best to get the derivatives of them sorted out somewhere in the corner, just so when it gets to our final answer, we can just throw an equation into here. And yes, we can simplify this and pull a, what can we pull? We can pull the e and a 2 out. That's probably about it. There's probably some double angle formulas we could work with the sine and the cos, but I'm not too concerned about here. You can simplify that in your own time. For now, I just wanted to get the point across of the product rule.